All right, welcome back. It's been a little while. Today I want to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a few weeks now, but I didn't exactly know how I was going to be approaching this topic or how I was going to be formatting this video. And I still think in some ways I'm a little bit uncertain about a few things even now, but I figured it'd be a good time to start even regarding that, just because we are in a little bit of a break now between Tour 1 and Tour 2, and with the amount of tournaments that are starting to pop up that are non-DPC related in that time space. For example, the BTS series, we had the OGA Dota Pit in China, and of course the Dubai Invitational, which I'm sure many of you guys watched. I figured it'd be a good time to start talking about the current DPC system and some of the things that I think are a little flawed about it and how we can improve upon it. And at the end of the day, I'm not trying to put this video out to say that I think I'm 100% right or anything like that. This is just me offering my personal opinion, and I'd really love to hear yours. If you guys think the system is perfect the way it is and you would love to see it maintained for the following seasons, let me know in the comments. If you think there needs to be like some minor changes or some major changes, or if we should scrap it all together and go back to the old system, let me know in the comments down below. And this is likely going to be a video that I follow up on in a few months once we're actually completed this whole season, that being when TI11 has concluded. That way we can kind of take a step back and look at the past year as a whole and sort of pinpoint some of the things that could have been a little bit better along the way. Obviously, I won't be nitpicking at some of the things that have been going on, like postponements of the CIS tour, nothing like that, or just the overall like COVID canceled major. I just want to take a look as a system as a whole when it's supposed to be working at 100% functionality, what it looks like. So, starting off with this new current system, I want to just come out and openly praise this system for doing a lot of things right. This system is one that was implemented largely to cater to the audience of Dota, the viewers, the consumers of the pro scene. For a very long time, the viewers and consumers of the pro scene have always been asking for more support of the Tier 2 and Tier 3 scene, because at the end of the day, a healthy Tier 2 and Tier 3 scene means a much more competitive Tier 1 scene. Previously, in the old system, the Tier 1 scene was incredibly difficult to break into as a new up-and-coming team or player. You really had to be on a team that was finding a reasonable amount of success, or just a player that was causing a lot of big waves in the pub scene to really get any sort of recognition from Tier 1 teams. And again, those Tier 1 teams were very, very well kept with their secrets and their strats, making it even more difficult for teams to crack into that Tier 1 scene. So the overall support for the Tier 2 and Tier 3 scene in this new current system has been fantastic. No complaints here. And the amount of teams and players that have been so fun to watch in those scenes, in the lower divisions in particular of these regions, has been so entertaining. It's been so fun watching some of these players or teams that maybe you'll just catch a game of, and all of a sudden you find yourself cheering for them, and maybe they start off the tour a little bit weak in the lower division, but by the end of it they finish top 2 and now they're an upper division team, and you've been supporting them along the way, and it's been very rewarding. That has been such a fantastic part of this current system, and one that I hope that if they do make any changes to this system does not get lost in translation, because again, a healthy Tier 2 and Tier 3 scene makes for a much more competitive Tier 1 scene, which is what we've been seeing. And this next point here that I'm going to point out as a pro is one that is very, very good for the viewer, but again is a big reason as to why maybe things aren't as fluid as they could be on the pro player side of things. And that is that this is a very viewer-oriented system. Again, talking back about how there's the Tier 2 and Tier 3 system, but not only that, we rarely ever get any overlap in a particular region. Say, for example, you only watch the upper division and you watch a few regions. That's pretty much what I do. You will hardly ever have to make a choice between watching two series. There will never be two upper division series going on at the same time, unless there is one series that's maybe going a little bit long, and thus it kind of blocks out the start of the following region's next series. That is the only time there will ever be overlap. And so as a viewer, you will never be left having to make a decision on which series you want to watch. If you want to watch an upper division series, you just have to watch one at a time, which has been a fantastic part for, again, the viewer side of things. The downside of that is that it makes it a lot more difficult to condense a schedule, hence why pro teams are usually only playing one series a week, which for us is a lot of Dota. There's a lot going on all the time. There's matches pretty much 24/7 for 6 weeks straight, but for the pro players, they're only playing one match, and that whole time in between, they can't exactly go on a break because they're still in tournament mode. They need to be grinding and playing tons of pubs and also studying their opponents that entire time, which makes it incredibly exhausting with very little payoff. And so that kind of leads me into my cons here, and that is, again, the schedule is far too spread out, and it's a real drag for the players. And another downside of that, and another reason as to why I'm talking about this now, is because we're seeing some outside tournaments popping up, is that this system where we're having 6 weeks of Dota where teams are only playing one game a week is not a very large commitment for them, but it's just enough for them to be prevented from playing in any sort of outside tournaments, which is why they have to wait until the end of the tour to actually start participating in them, which has been a little bit of a flaw. There is a way that this can work. However, just the current system where teams are basically playing just one game a week for 6 weeks and are unable to do anything else in that time is a little bit clunky, and I think it's something that largely needs to change. And I promise you that like 90% of the pro players, this is their issue with the current system. And so taking a look now, this is the way that things are laid out and how they should be functioning when everything is at like actual maximum capacity, when everything is running as it should be. So of course, this first tour, we didn't get a first major. This is assuming that we do have our major, we have our 6-week season, all that fun stuff. The first 6 weeks are all regional matches where we're having 10 matches per region per week, 5 in the upper division and 5 in the lower division. So again, only on average 1 match per week per team. We then have a 2-week break before we head into the major, which that break is a little bit mandatory, not only to give teams a little bit of a break, but also to kind of build up some strategies. Maybe there will be a little bit of a patch, a gameplay patch in between that time, and it gives teams also some time to travel to wherever the major should be. Again, this is assuming that this system is working as intended. At week 9, we have our major, and then we have a 2 or 3 week break after that before we head into the following tour. Again, usually a patch lands in that time frame, which is what we have right now. However, unfortunately, that doesn't give a lot of time for some outside tournaments because, again, they are basically relying on just this 3-week break after the end of the major, but that's usually when a gameplay patch comes out, which makes for some incredibly hectic matches, which we were able to see, like I said, in the OGA Dota Pit, which started off on 7.30E and ended off on 7.31. I don't even know if the B version came out by the time that the tournament was done, but regardless, that tournament went through a major shakeup because of the current system. And so overall, again, this is where I think the problem lies. And so for me, this is my personal opinion. And again, I would really love to hear yours. These are some of the alternative systems that I think I have been able to come up with to this point. The first is that we condense our schedule down. I have a image that I'm probably going to put up on screen right now. This is basically a condensed version of the schedule that we saw for Tour 1 of the upper division in the upper and lower division of Western Europe. The matches are color graded, where we have for the first half of the week only lower division matches. We then head into the middle section of the week where we have both lower division and upper division matches at the same time. And then on the prime viewing days, for example, Friday and Saturday, we have only upper division matches. We could even orient this a little bit differently, where if you want Sunday to be one of the major viewing days, we kind of shift everything down a day and we have the upper division playing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday alone. This, of course, again, creates a little bit more overlap, specifically in that middle portion of the week, where lower division teams and upper division teams will be playing at the same time, which will inevitably handicap some of the viewership for those tier 2 teams. However, it doesn't completely kneecap it, which I think is something that we can work on a little bit. And this schedule is condensed down into just 2 weeks, which means that, now I'm taking the image off the screen for a little bit, we can see a system a little bit more like this, which kind of resembles the regional finals that we had just a couple weeks ago, where for week 1 and 2, we have maybe 2 regions that are far enough apart based on their time zone that they can happen at the same time without any overlap there. And then following that, we have 2 more regions, and then for week 5 and 6, 2 more regions there. The only real issue with this is that you're still kind of blocking off a 6-week chunk where you won't be able to get all the teams you want for an outside tournament, which doesn't exactly solve everything, but it does kind of fix the little bit of a lull that we've been seeing with these teams, where rather than playing 1 match a week and being pretty much being busy for those entire 6 weeks, if you're a part of a given region, you play all your 7 matches in a span of 2 weeks, and then past that point, you're free to go. You're good. And you can start playing in some outside tournaments. For example, if you wanted to have an outside tournament around week 5 and 6, you can invite teams from China, Western Europe, Southeast Asia, and North America. And sure, you won't be able to include teams from CIS and SA because they're playing in their regional matches. It's still better than the current system now. Again, there's no real specific reason why these regions are in this particular order. I just wanted to have regions that were far enough apart from one another that they wouldn't have any sort of time overlap. Another variation of this would be to have this condensed schedule that I was talking about, but however, instead of having each team play against each other team once, we could have it so it's more like a regular season of some other sports where we have teams playing against other teams multiple times. So we have this condensed schedule that's down to 7 matches per 2 weeks, stretched out to 6 weeks, so we have a total of 21 matches. Maybe that would be a little bit too much. That is a lot of time for these teams to be playing at their best and a lot of matches to go. But it does kind of separate the fluke in the whole thing, where we're less likely to have a team that just maybe won a one-off series and avoided relegation like that. And we're more likely to see the teams that are playing consistently their best showing up near the top, which I think is also something that would be a little better. And maybe it doesn't have to be 6 weeks long. Maybe it can just be 4 weeks long or something like that. Again, who knows? But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been my little think piece here on the current DPC system. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this in the comments down below as always. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon with another video. Bye.